What's up, guys? It's Richie Rich back yet again, and this time I'm doing a review from 1998, but this time a post from the comedy. It is an action non-stop thriller, and it is Enemy of the State, starring Will Smith and Gene Hackman. Be sure to check this out. Yes, so Enemy of the State from 1998. First of all, I just want to apologize how my eyes appear. I literally just woken up. I said, let me just slide this review in quick before I head to the work world to go get that money, as we all need. I said, let me just put this review quickly, before I go to work. So we're gonna do this review of Enemy of the State. So yeah, man, folks, yeah, if you go back and check my review on not a cheap plug, but if you check my review on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, in that review I specifically talked about Will Smith's pretty much rise to kind of superstardom. That was just started from the TV series in the early to, it ran for 6 years, yeah, from 1990 to 1996. Throughout Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's run, you really could see Will Smith's acting chops. You could see him, he could be taken now as a legit serious actor. And while Will Smith was in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you could see, what was very interesting is his movie roles really started to get, the ones that were offered to him really started to get bigger and better. From the beginning, when Fresh Prince started, he was given more of them supporting roles. He was in Made in America. There was another teen drama that a lot of people don't know about, which is called, it's called Where the Gaze Takes You, which is was made in 1992. 6 Degrees Separation came around that time. So those were the three three feature films that Will Smith starred in. If you want to say the first 3 seasons of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he was in them. In the second part, from especially when it went on to season 4 all the way to season 6, Will Smith started to get these, and this is where it relates to this. He got Bad Boys, which started in 1995, which brought pretty much the funniest comedian of the 90s and the most charismatic showman of the 90s in the black entertainment. Put them together, that being Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, put them together, and thus you got this nice action, thriller and little dash of comedy in Bad Boys. It didn't even stop there, because of it may have been the Bad Boys, or just America seeing this young charismatic guy from Philadelphia. He was given the he went for the Independence Day, which not really a critical kind of critically acclaimed film, but it's still a big blockbuster success. Men in Black came I think around this year, not too long after this, and it went on to Wild Wild West, Men in Black, what I mean. So it was through the late, especially from the mid to late 90s, Will Smith starred, Will Smith's the persona and the star, he started to really rise, and then on 2000s, he was able to sustain that A-list status. So what this film, I'll tell you a bit about the synopsis. I hope I said that right. The story, it tells a story, and I'm not gonna just read completely off the the blurb at the back. From the top of my head, in this film, it tells a lot of internet kind of communication and that, because this was obviously before the millennium, and most importantly before the Y2K. So I'm not saying technology was in its infancy, but like the internet at this time was some kind of new kind of super thing. There was a film even with Angelina Jolie and the guy he was engaged to. I forgot, it was cool. It was a nice film, but it dealt with like that kind of code hacking and like all about the internet is different. You had the Matrix, which was in the 99, who all dealt with this kind of like virtual, world and that. So in this film, this tells what kind of like what the government kind of does to get like information of people, like hacking people's phones, hacking computers, having spy cameras, doing this kind of stuff to get valuable information that they need. And what happens is, so happens that Will Smith gets involved in this because the central characters in this are pretty much Will Smith, who is he's a lawyer in this, family man. Basically, he's the guy you need to root for in the story, and that even though he's a lawyer in this, he does have some kind of like, I wouldn't say secrets, but some stuff he is holding back from his family. Who his wife in this is played by Regina King, and the kid in this, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's the kid who plays Trent in Big Mama's House, which came out in 2000. So what it basically deals with is like the opening starting of the film, character played by Jason Robards, who played Cheyenne in Once Upon a Time in the West. I know my spaghetti westerns, ladies and gentlemen. They're in like this kind of like near a lake, and this is set around I believe it was shot around DC, but it's within that kind of area. If it's not DC, it's gotta be like Virginia or New Jersey, one of them places, because it's set in fall. It's around Christmas time. That's the season it is, and that. So like, there's an opening season like Jason Robards is talking to John Voight. If you don't know that, it's Angelina Jolie's dad. And they're just having this kind of like dialogue about like you sometimes you wouldn't get if you don't know too much about like because John Voight works for the NSA, which is the again government secretive, again trying to get information and that. They're talking about I think like he's meant to supposed to hand over something over to him, and at the end John Voight just takes him out. It gets like they whack him, and what after that they try to hide the evidence, so try to take Jason Roberts out. But what happened is, while this was happening, someone had this is how this is almost 20 years, but this is how like a jump back in time it is. Someone had a camcorder, so they record the whole kind of like, if you want to call it assassination, they recorded the whole thing, so they had the footage. But John Voight was able to find that someone had the footage. So the real plot of, not the plot, but the real like kind of just of the story is, John Voight and that whole team of intelligence, they're trying to get that footage, to get kind of like a cover up, and the story leads all the way into like I know it because the guy who actually gets the footage, because it goes from one guy, they send it to Jason Lee, who's the guy in My Name Is Earl. He also did the voice for Syndrome in Incredibles. Great movie actor. He downloads it onto a floppy disk. In like this is like the coming to the it's still the early part of the movie. He downloads it onto the floppy disk. They find out that he's the guy who has the the video capture of like them taking out Jason Robards' character, and he has to get it on a floppy disk, and he runs, he jets, and he's like, okay, what am I gonna do? Even in times of panic, and you start to be like, oh, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Your mind's like thinking a million things, He like goes into one store, which is the famous scene where Will Smith's trying to buy like a present for his wife, Regina King. He buys her he's trying to buy lingerie, but he's in that store trying to be like very embarrassed, like I'm just getting it for my wife, not for no one else, for my wife. So while he's in the store, Jason Lee and Will Smith, they kind of collide, and he drops the floppy disk into the purchase bag, where he got the, the laundry, and it's like immediately after he, Jason, what's his name, Jason Scott Lee, he ends up getting he hit with the he's riding a bicycle because as he was trying to escape from them, because he's getting, you'll find out from this whole film, it's a real crazy like a thriller film, from the start to the finish. It's like you it may have had influence from like The Fugitive or US Marshals, which came, roughly around the 90s, the same time, of like a guy who's being framed and he's on the constant run, and it's not one of those things like he can go to them and say, look, it's not me, it's not me. They're gonna try anyway, because once you've been framed, they don't want to be like, okay, oh, you're wrong, you're not the guy. They're gonna go and like just try things like, get them dead or alive. So like this is where the story like really kicks on, when Will Smith is now in possession of the floppy disk containing that footage of that, that political murder. That whole team of like that Central Intelligence, whatever you want to call it, they're tracking Will Smith for the majority of the film, because I believe the disc, or basically what Will Smith was wearing, this is later got confirmed when he bumps into Lex Luthor, the real Lex Luthor, Gene Hackman. They were keeping like track on him, because I believe in, you see how sometimes chilling, like which I'll talk about a bit more later, the government basically like went into Will Smith's house, so Will Smith's playing Robert Clayton. He went into the house when he wasn't there and he met like his wife and his kids, and they used the house to put, tracking devices, like so they could be able to use it to track his whereabouts. Yeah, like, as I said, like through like the middle of the film, he bumps into Gene Hackman, and what's the great thing with Gene Hackman is Gene Hackman was actually working. He's like an ex, I believe it's the NSA. That's the organization they're working for. He actually was working for Voight, like John Voight, and I also forgot to mention that Gary Busey's son and James Caan's son both appear in this, and they're one of the guys who are trying to go get Will Smith to get that footage back. So that whole zone, like you're working like, so I don't know, some maybe next door neighbor to Area 51. That like government like intelligence. Gene Hackman was working for them in the past. So once Gene Hackman finds out, and he owes it to him because, and he nearly even slipped my mind, Lisa Bonet, her girl from the 80s, the Huxtable, classic movies such as Angel Heart, see that, but we'll be cute. But, she appears in this, it's very, very small scenes and that, a bit more than a cameo, but they had like a relationship in the past, and it's even caught on footage because they used this to try to put, Robert Clayton's name down, like there's pictures taken when he's speaking to Lisa Bonet's character, and this in turn makes Regina King like very like angry and jealous, like why are you back with this like broad, why all this, but Gene Hackman was actually friends with Lisa Bonet's father, and he was given the like he was given like by the father to say like you have to take care of my daughter, and he ends up failing because Lisa Bonet actually he actually gets taken out because of the the information that she knows about, because on the road to basically get this floppy disk of Will Smith, they're just basically taking out everyone, they do not care who's in the way, it's just to get the person on, get that item, so it's really cool, when Gene Hackman and Will Smith had to start, Gene Hackman's like, just get away from me, you gotta take off your shoes, you gotta take off your, your pants, you gotta take off your, blazers, you could be tracked everywhere, and there's one cool scene like he takes up everything because Gene Hackman just splits like for a while, and he's running one time in the tunnel with like an outfit that I think he swapped with one of like one of the guys in the lorries, you know, so he's running like with like slippers, no, sorry, socks, you know, he's wearing like a bathrobe. He's running through a tunnel when these are chasing him, you know. It's just a real cool like action, you know, sequence. Yeah, you know, so like it's a cool there's a cool like kind of like subplot, because like when Gene Hackman's introduced, you know, no one really, like the audience as we are seeing it, we don't really know like why he's, well, first of all, like why he's there, and also why he needs to be, you know, help Will Smith, you know, as like the film, like I said, draws to kind of like the you know, the third act, the climax, you kind of see what Gene Hackman's like real intentions are, you know. It's kind of like that kind of thing of he, because he knows what they were, he knows what they're capable of, and he kind of doesn't want to see like someone, he recognized Will Smith is a good man, he's a lawyer, and some, you know, lawyers are crooked, as we know, you know, but he realized that he is a, you know, he's a good human being, you know, he's a family man, you know, he's only trying to do the right thing, but he just accidentally got caught up on this mess, you know. So it's that kind of in Gene Hackman's character, he has to like kind of get back out of retirement to kind of like get this guy out of like, you know, what they put him in, you know, this kind of trouble, you know. And well, I don't want to really spoil it, like if no one has seen it now, but what ultimately happens at the end is a really kind of clever kind of mix up that happens that Will Smith knew about. You know, if you go back to early scene, Will Smith actually kind of owed money to this kind of like I think it was kind of like, I don't think it was the mafia, but it was this kind of like Italian kind of family tree, so he owed money to them, so he was able to kind of switch them into like that John Voight and, you know, them crews trying to get that get the disc off Will Smith and the, you know, the Italian mafia. He was able to get them together, and they have this kind of big brouhaha, you know, at the end, you know, which was able, you know, which able Will Smith was not able to get, you know, caught in the middle. Yeah, man, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Enemy at the stage, you know, like the parts I said, I touched on like the most, you know, the most noble and like vital key elements of the film, you know, is in it's in my opinion like a very very I really love those kind of films, like especially like back in the day, because I think it stopped somewhere around the mid 2000s. Probably think these superhero movies of like the less CGI effects, you know, more practical camera work, you know. This was directed by Tony Scott, who was Ridley Scott's brother. Ridley Scott directed like the classic Alien film in 1979, you know. So Tony Scott's a great one. He did a lot of like collaborations with Denzel Washington, you know, Man on Fire, I think it was Passenger 57, you know, I don't know if it was American Gangster, maybe, I have to remember, but he did a lot of collaborations with Denzel, especially in them action films, you know. And, you know, he sadly passed away a couple years ago, you know, but great you know, action director, you know. And just even the choreographer choreography is just very like you know, it's just put forward at the best of this, what is it, because what it is, I always say like why movie making was so great back in the day, because they worked with what they had, you know. In this era they've got the leniency of like we can just CGI at least 30, at least maybe, what am I talking about, 30%, 70% of the action scenes in this would have just been done on a blue screen, you know, because it's just a leniency. Why do we have to eye all these extras? Why do we have to create all these elaborate sets if we can just press a button and just create that imagery just on the back of me? You know, like while I'm talking, it could be like, you know, green screen and just project off like what they want to see on that, you know. Whereas before, when they were doing like these practical sets, they had to really go in to create this imagination of, you know, Will Smith's like, you know, the car just like crashed, it exploded, you know, and it legit exploded. Will Smith's got to jump out, run through this scene whilst all these agents are like trying to, you know, take him out, you know. And I think that kind of that era is, sadly to say, is gone, you know. So yes, we come onto the soundtrack, and this is actually probably the first that's ever happened, you know. I have actually not listened to the actual soundtrack. The soundtrack actually released, you know, for this film, you know. So because I really jumped on this early, you know, I was like, okay, cool, because usually, as you probably know, like when I review these films, I would always watch it like if it's not even a day before, I watch it like a couple hours before, just to kind of, memorize it. Not memorize it, but like I refresh my memory about it. The thing of it is, I've seen Enemy State like dozens of times. Like it pretty much, it would always be shown on like Friday nights. It's like that. You finish like school, or when I was in college, you would watch it on like Friday nights. Used to I believe I used to have it on. This is actually not the DVD I had. I may have had it on VHS. So I watched it a dozen times, so I already had it pretty much in my mind. But that being said, I probably, the last time I've seen it's probably not been like 5-6 years ago. But it's still the vague idea of Enemy to Stay is still, I still have the lasting kind of what the film is pretty much about. But that being said, the music that's in this film is kind of similar to like Michael Bay's films, like kind of like the music that was used in Bad Boys, that of the tunes that go with the kind of action cues, because this film is so like synonymous with like high action moments. So the tunes that kind of slide in there would be in most of them films that would be seen in Michael Bay films, or any kind of action thriller films that were especially in the 90s. That would be the music that would be in this, just probably from a different, obviously from like a different composer at the time, maybe even Hans Zimmer, just really pretty much the them action kind of music settings. So yeah, man, what are my like overall thoughts on Enemy of the State? Like for me, because I'm probably one of the many people who grew up on Will Smith. Like if you wanna go back, I keep mentioning it. Go back and check my Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Go back and check my Fresh Prince of Bel-Air film. And it's like I was I was watching. I knew about Will Smith. Pretty much like that was the first like early star. Like like I knew about like MC Hammer, and like what was it, The Rock. I knew about The Rock later after, but Will Smith was the one I was seeing like pretty much every day, because Fresh Prince was shown here extensively, on a TV network. So yeah, Will Smith had more of like a Billy actor, because you understand, like Will Smith wasn't the only like rapper crossing over to movies at that time. Ice-T was in big movies at that. He was in New Jack City. He also appeared in Ricochet with Denzel. Obviously, the one and only Tupac Shakur was in Juice. He was in Poetic Justice. He was in Bullet. There was a lot of rappers, successfully going into movie roles. Whereas Will Smith, where he was the best at it, and this is what I'm gonna kind of touch on, like ethnicities of groups and that. Will Smith was able to kind of make it like he could be more of a national kind of movie star. Like he kind of like what Eddie Murphy did. Yeah, how can I even put this in that? He was able to get black people who just genuinely like Will Smith, who was supporting him because Will Smith was black, and he was able to get white people who probably, even some white people would be like, I can't stand black people, I can't stand like these all these derogatory terms they had for black people, for like blacks. They would even go out to go, believe it or not, they would still go out to go watch a film with Will Smith, like an Independence Day, like a Men in Black, and just like this, because Will Smith was able to get into these roles that, you understand, like Tom Cruise was even offered this role as well, and George Clooney, and Will Smith beat out both of them. You know what I mean? That's the level he jumped from. Parents just don't understand, to basically saying like, basically being in a position saying, we don't need Tom Cruise, or we don't George Clooney, put me in. So they weren't even looking at race, they just wanted the best actor. So you when I look at like how Will Smith career, how he was able to make that kind of jump from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to like leading man. I to this day I don't think no one else has ever done that, especially in that rap community. So kudos to main man Will Smith. So yeah, man, who would I recommend this film to? this is a kind of thing because I don't think this film would appeal to it's funny saying, because I keep saying millennials and I'm still part of this millennial. I don't know, but like I am. But with this era where there's really kind of one kind of only film genre, you know, like pretty much it was over dominated with the superhero films. I don't know if that's gonna change with kind of the end of this whole Avengers kind of saga. You know, maybe there's gonna be a change, and you know, thank God, you know, we're coming to 2020. Maybe there's gonna be another kind of like lick of films, you know. But like closest thing I've seen to this, you know, and again, it's a complete different, you know, genre, you know, not genre, but it's a complete different kind of like take. John Wick, you know, that'd probably be the closest thing on this because John Wick kind of focuses on, you know, a guy that like a million people want to get their hands on, and it's kind of like you know, it's action sequences. The only difference is where in this film, this is like a kind of like a, it's kind of like a hunt. You know, Will Smith's literally just fighting for his life. You know, he's not some like, you know, Shaolin master who's learned all these different kind of practice of martial arts. He's like your everyman. He just happens to be a lawyer, you know. But this one, he's being framed. So you know, the whole thing is just, you know, I'm not wasting time talking to much people. I'm not gonna say like it's not me, it's not me. It's just to run, run. You know what I mean? And you know, like I said, the closest thing to this, if anyone has seen The Fugitive, which is an outstanding, terrific film with Harrison Ford, definitely watch. Definitely watch this one. You know, if you love The Fugitive, you will 100% love this. Of just like, you know, just yeah, non-stop, end-to-end, action-packed thriller. Yeah, guys, that's my review of Enemy of the States. Another great gem from the 1990s. Please let me know if you guys have seen Enemy of the State, man. Just let me know what your opinions of it, you know, how Will Smith, like, you know, went into this kind of like leading man like actually, because yeah, this is pretty much like as I mentioned in other films like he was doing it in the 90s. He was kind of like them supporting actors. This one he's top billing leading man actor. So how do you feel he was in this? Was he able to carry this film? You know, do you think like his later films were better, like Independence Day? No, Independence Day, which was actually before, but like, you know, maybe the films he did in 2000s like I Am Legend or like I, Robot. Please give me some feedback in that. But yes, until the next time, stay tuned because we'll be bringing more vids like this very, very soon. But when that magical day arrives, as prophesied in the Quran, I assure you, Richie Rich will be back yet again. Peace. Two fingers.